know. She sounds familiar, but I can't really say what she's ever done. Sorry.
I've never heard of her before.
I'm interested in finding out something about her. Who is she? And where did she live? What did she do?
Sarah Edgemont Parker. Her courage and dedication to an ideal paved the way for public awareness and social reform. Though largely forgotten today, Sarah was nevertheless an inspiration to succeeding generations of committed and idealistic women. Gertrude Sedgwick and Dudley Moore Parker were the eldest offspring of their aristocratic Boston families. Turning his back on his family's prune holdings, Dudley Parker was a self-made millionaire in the hatpin trade by the time Sarah was born, on the upper floor of this majestic 35-room Boston mansion in 1880. Sep was, by all accounts, a carefree, inquisitive child, typical of a well-bred young lady of her generation. There was little indication of the volcanic passion to come, or of the radical fire that was to burn so brightly in Sarah's breast. 1900, the Paris Exposition. Paris, the Mecca of the greatest thinkers, artists, and musicians of the age. Armed with only her father's latest hairpin designs for the expo, Sarah soon had the City of Light at her feet. The Louvre, the opera, cafes on the Seine, and the parties, an endless round of parties. But Sarah found something more in Paris. Dr. Colin Talmadge of the Department of History at Harvard University explains,
"You have to understand that Paris at the turn of the century offered a number of diversions for a naive young woman like Sep. It was alive, exciting, a veritable feast for somebody who earlier had been sheltered by her mother, father, and her nanny. But it wasn't just her newly found independence that excited Sep so much. With her money, her energy, and her bright mind, she was entranced by the radical, bright-spirited people that gathered around her.
But if Sarah's exposure to the intelligentsia endowed her with new social awareness and a sense of purpose, it also left its scars. The year 1901 saw the beginning of Sarah's lifelong addiction to cigarettes.
Yes, Sarah gained quite a reputation, you know, with her chain smoking. In fact, she always used to have a cigarette between her lips. Apparently her friends, when they went into a cafe to look for her, they listened for her laughter and then looked out for a cloud of smoke.
A woman of Sarah's abundant wit, beauty, and charm did not go unnoticed, and many of the great artists of Paris paid court at her salon. Monet, Pissarro, Debussy. In 1905, Sarah abruptly returned to the United States with a new vision of social change, centering on birth control reform. Clifton Edgemont, Sarah's cousin, remembers those first years after her return.
I remember, I was only a boy at the time, but I remember her. She used to run around a great deal, smoke a lot. She had to smoke out back of the house, of course. The parents just wouldn't allow it. Somebody was always yelling at somebody. She would be hollering out the window, up and down the street. And then she started passing out these pamphlets on the common.
At the time, contraception was hardly a subject for public debate. Heedless of the consequences, Sep pressed on in her campaign to provide Boston with birth control. Her method was unique, but so was Sarah. Even Bunny Monet fails to see the significance of her great-grandmother's endeavors. I don't know too much about her, just stories, hearsay. People tell me she handed out contraceptives on street corners, in any public place. How dreadful. How about a little dignity, great-grandma? In 1911, Dudley and Gertrude Parker, now estranged from Sep, were tragically cut down by an influenza epidemic. Grief-stricken and risking possible infection, Sarah threw herself headlong into a fervent campaign of supplying Boston with birth control.
Oh, the common was very nice in those days. Quiet, a lot of flowers. You used to sit and watch the people go by. But it was very quiet, very peaceful, except for Sarah. You could hear her a mile away.
Desperate for funds, Sarah sold the inherited hatpin factory in 1917 and sank the bulk of her fortune into supplying condoms to departing doughboys. This resulted in Sarah's 20th arrest. Tired of sleepless nights in jail cells and frustrated by Boston's inability to accept her ideas, Sarah slipped into obscurity and attempted to live a normal life. She spent the next few years dodging the press and frequenting the baseball park. Unconventional to the last, SEP met a tragic death in 1921, beamed by a foul ball during a Boston Braves and Cincinnati Redlegs game.
The great tragedy of SEP's story is that she was so radical and unconventional that history has forgotten her. She was quite a young woman when she died, but in a sense history has cheated her by forgetting her.